matuto! Hello, grade 9 students! It's me again, your mom, Shei. So, for weeks 5 and 6, we will be simplifying radical expressions. Are you ready? Let's go! At the end of this lesson, you are expected to derive the laws of radicals and simplify radical expressions using the laws of radicals. In simplifying radicals, it is good to know the following conditions. First, the radicand does not contain a perfect square, cube, or nth power. So sabi dyan, ang radical daw ay nasa simplest form na kung ang radicand or yung number inside the radical symbol does not contain a perfect square, cube, or nth power. So let us take a look on these following examples. For the following expressions, which of the following does not contain a perfect square, cube, or nth power? Yun ang hahanapin natin kasi yun ang naka-simplest form. So, which of them is already in its simplest form? Okay, so if you noticed, we have here in the square root of 2 and the square root of 12. Alin dito ang nasa simplest form na? Okay, that is correct. The square root of 2. Bakit? Okay, kasi if you notice, yung ating second example na square root of 12, ang radicand natin, which is equal to 12, contain a perfect square. Okay, alin yun? So, di ba, ibig sabihin nun, we will get the factors of 12. Ano ba yung factors ng 12 na may perfect square? Yes, we have 4 times 3. Tama ba? When we say factors, alin doon yung number or two numbers na pag pinag-multiply natin will result to 12. So that is 4 times 3. And we all know that 4 is a perfect square. So therefore, the square root of 12 is not yet in its simplest form. Did you understand? How about these two given? We have a cube root of 8 and cube root of 15. Which of the following is already in its simplest form? Ang cube root of 8 ba ay naka-simplest form? Okay, hindi po. Why? Kasi, ang cube root of 8 ay can be simplified or ang 8 natin na radical is a perfect cube. Na? Kasi, what is that number na pag pinag-multiply natin 3 times sa kanyang sarili will result to 8? Okay, so that is 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. So therefore, cube root of 8 is not yet simplified. But, cube root of 15 is already in its simplest form. Why? Meron bang factors ang 15? Yes, we have 5 times 3. Tama ba? Okay, so dun sa 5 and 3, meron ba dun na perfect cube? Okay, wala po. Walang number na pag pinag-multiply natin 3 times sa kanyang sarili will result to 5 or 3. So therefore, cube root of 15 is already in its simplest form. Okay? Maliwanag ba? Maliwanag ba ang pagkakaiba or how can we guarantee that the expression or the given expression is already in its simplest form? Now, let's have another condition. There should be no fraction in the radicand or no radical in the denominator. So, ang radical ay nasa simplest form kapag wala po tayong radical sa ating denominator. So, let's have these examples. We have two given expressions. We have a square root of 3 over 4 and the square root of 3 over 5. So, which of them is not yet in its simplest form? Okay. Or, alin ba dyan yung naka-simplest form na? Okay. So, let us simplify. So, ang square root of 3 over 4 is equal to square root of 3 over square root of 4, applying the quotient law. Okay? So, we have square root of 3 and square root of 4. Meron ba tayong radical sa ating denominator? Yes, meron po. We have a square root of 4. So, ibig sabihin ba nito, hindi siya naka-radical o hindi siya naka-simplest form? Okay, hindi pa po. But we can still simplify it kasi ang square root of 4 is a perfect square. So, That will be equal to square root of 3 over 2. So, nawala na yung ating denominator na radical. So, therefore, it is already in its simplest form. So, how about this given expression, square root of 3 over 5? So, this is equal to square root of 3 divided by square root of 5. So, ang square root of 5 ba ay perfect square? Or yung ating radicand 5? Okay, hindi po. So, therefore, meron tayong radical in the denominator. So, therefore, this given square root of 3 over square root of 5 is not yet in its simplest form. Because there should no fraction in the radicand and no radical in the denominator. Okay? Lastly, the radical is in its simplest form if the index of the radical is the lowest possible index. So, ibig sabihin, yung ating index ng radical should be in its lowest possible index. If we can simplify that or kung kaya pa nating paliitin yung ating index, paliitin natin. So, let's have these examples. We have 6th root of 8. If you notice, yung ating index ay masyadong malaki, no? Then that is 6. Kung kaya naman daw na i-simplify or paliitin yung ating index, so let us do that in order to make it in simplest form. So, dito, that is by, ayan, by getting the factors of 6 of the index. Ang factors ng 6 ay 2 and 3. Tama ba? So, naririto si 2, naririto si 3. Okay? So, finactored out siya. At kasi alam naman natin that cube root of 8 is equal to 2. Kasi ang 8 natin is a perfect cube. So, therefore, kapag sinimplify natin si cube root of 8, that would be, di ba, ang 2 times 2 times 2. So, that would be equal to 8. So, therefore, ang cube root of 8, pwede na natin siyang gawing 2. Nawala na ito. Nawala na si cube root of 8. So, ang natira na lang ay yung nasa labas na radical. Ayan. And then, the 2. Okay? So, naka-simplest form na ngayon ang ating index. From 6 na index, naging 2 na lamang. So, ibig sabihin, this is the simplest form of this expression. Another example, if our given is 6th root of 9, ang 6 natin ay still malaki. Let us check if mapapaliit pa natin yung ating index. So, ang factors ng 6 ay 2 and 3. Tama? So, this time, since ang ating radicand is 9, we all know that 9 is a perfect square. So, therefore, ang square yung nasa loob ng ating radical. So, here, nasa loob yung 2 dahil ang target natin is to simplify square root of 9. So, nasa labas ngayon yung ating factor na 3. So, therefore, square root of 9, let us simplify, and that would be equal to 3. So, ang natira na lang ay yung outside ng radical. So, we have cube root of 3, cube root of 3. So, this is the simplest form. So, a radical is in its simplest form if we can still reduce its index. To sum it up, you have to simplify radical expressions with the following conditions. Una, if we have a perfect n factor, kaya pa natin siyang isimplify. And if there is a fraction or radicand sa ating denominator. And of course, if we can still reduce the index. Okay? So, tandaan lamang natin itong tatlong ito in order to know if we can still simplify the given radical expressions. We have different properties of radicals that would help us in simplifying radical expressions. So first is if the given is nth root of AB. So that would be equal to nth root of A times nth root of B. Or the nth root of a product is equal to the nth root of each factor. Next, if our given is nth root of P, so that would be equal to nmth root of P, Or ano lang ginawa natin sa indices? Ayan. Minag-multiply lamang natin. Next is, when nth root of P over Q, so that would be equal to nth root of P over or divided by nth root of Q. That is applying the quotient law of radicals. Okay? So these are the properties of radicals which will help us in simplifying radical expressions. Now, let us start simplifying radicals by reducing the radicand. Okay? Unahin muna natin yung pagre-reduce ng radicand. So, let us have this example. Our given expression is simplify square root of 50. If you notice, we have here an expression or a radicand which is 50. Let us see if we can still reduce the radicand or may makukuha ba tayong factors na perfect square out of 50. So, we have square root of 50. So, mag-isip tayo, ano ba yung factors or meron bang factors ang 50 in which ang isa doon ay perfect square? Okay, so maraming factors ang 50. Meron tayong 10 times 5. At meron din tayong 25 times 2. Tama ba? Okay, so doon sa mga factors na yon, meron ba tayong perfect square? Yes po, and that is 25. So, ibig sabihin, we can simplify it by getting the perfect nth power or nth root. So, that is 25 times 2. Ano nangyari? Kinuha po natin ang factors ng 15 na ang isa ay perfect square. And that is 25 times 2. Okay? Then, let us simplify. Ang square root of 25 is a perfect square, so therefore, we can simplify it. Paghiwalay natin, isang square root of 25 at isang square root of 2. Ang isa ay perfect nth root at ang isa ay not a perfect nth root. Yung perfect nth root na square root of 25 ay isimplify na natin or ilabas na natin sa ating radical symbol or simplify na natin. Ang square root of 25 is equal to 5. Tama ba? And then, what happened to square root of 2? Kinopya lamang po. So, the answer is 5 square root of 2. So, therefore, square root of 50 is equal to 5 square root of 2. Let us have another example. We have simplify cube root of 81. So, here, we can simplify it or the given cube root of 81 by thinking of a number or mag-isip tayo ng number na cube ang ating power. So, therefore, we need to think of a perfect cube. May factors ba ang 81 na perfect cube ang isa? Okay. Yes, of course. Meron yan. And that is 27 times 3. Very good. Alin siya ng perfect cube? Ayan. So, we have 27. Ang 27 is a perfect cube. So, paghiwalayin natin, we have a cube root of 27 times cube root of 3. Isang perfect cube at isang hindi perfect cube. Ang perfect cube ating isimplify. And that is, ano yung number na pag pinag-multiply natin 3 times sa kanyang sarili, will result to 27. Okay, so that is 3. 3 times 3, 9 times 3 is 27. So therefore, that will be equal to 3. We have cube root of 3. Saan galing si cube root of 3? Ayun po. Kinopya lamang. Kasi hindi na siya perfect cube. So therefore, hindi na natin ito mai-simplify. No? Kasi naka-simplest form na siya. So we just need to copy it. So the final answer in simplifying cube root of 81 is equal to 3 cube root of 3. Now let us have this example. We have simplify fifth root of 32x raised to 7 y raised to 5z. So if you notice, marami tayong involved na variables. So how are we going to simplify this kind of expression? So first, okay, so ito yung technique ko sa inyo. Please put two radicals. So we have fifth root, dalawang fifth root yan since ang ating index ay 5. Ang isa, dito natin ilalagay lahat ng mga perfect nth root or perfect fifth root. So, dito naman, dito natin ilalagay lahat ng non-perfect nth root. Ibig sabihin ng non-perfect fifth root, already simplified na siya. Wala na tayong pwedeng i-simplify sa kanya. Ano? Now, so let us now take a look on our given expressions. Unahin natin itong numerical number or numerical which is 32. So here, ang 32 ay perfect fifth root ba siya? Or meron ba tayong isang number na when we multiply to itself or minultiply natin sa kanyang sarili, 5 times will result to 2. Okay, mag-isip kayo. You will think or you can do it or in a scratch paper para madali nating makuha kung meron nga bang number na pag minultiply natin 5 beses ay 32 ang magiging sagot. Okay, so that would be, yan, kasi ang 2. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 32. Ibig sabihin, ang 32 pala ay perfect fifth root. So, therefore, dito natin siya ilalagay. We have 32. Next, yung x raised to 7. Ma'am, paano ba natin kinukuha or malaman if perfect nth root ang ating or perfect fifth root ang ating variable? Tingnan lang po natin yung kanyang power. Since ang power nito ay 7, if it is divisible by the index, or kaya nating i-divide sa index, so therefore, perfect nth root siya. So, ang 7 ba ay pwedeng i-divide kay 5? Exactly? Kay hindi po. Pero, meron ba tayong 5 sa 7? Yes, meron po. So, therefore, pwede nating paghiwalayin yung x raised to 7 into x raised to 5 at ang isa ay x raised to 2. Why? Kasi di ba ang x raised to 5 times x raised to 2 is equal to x raised to 7. Applying the laws of exponents kung saan kapag same ang bases, ang ginagawa natin sa ating exponent ay ina-add. So, 5 plus 2 is equal to 7. So, ibig sabihin, x raised to 5 ba ay perfect fifth root? Yes, kayang i-divide ang 5 by 5, or in which that is equal to 1. So, therefore, ang x raised to 5 ay perfect nth root. At ang x raised to 2 ay hindi na po perfect nth root. Kaya nandito siya. Titigil lamang po tayo kapag ang ating exponent ay mas mababa na sa ating index. So, ang x raised to 7 ay mas malaki pa sa ating index kung kaya't alam natin na meron pa itong factor. Meron pa itong factors in which ang isa ay perfect fifth root. At yun na nga ay ang ating x raised to 5 at ang ating x raised to 2. Okay? Next, y raised to 5. Is it a perfect fifth root or not? Yes, that is perfect fifth root. So, dito natin siya ilalagay. Okay? Next, meron pa ba? Meron ba siyang katuwang? Wala po. So, therefore, we will proceed to the next variable or that is z. Ang z ba ay perfect fifth root? Okay, hindi po kasi ito ay 1 lang. Since ang ating exponent ay mas mababa sa ating index, ibig sabihin, it is already in its simplest form. Since it is already in simplest form, nandito po siya. Okay? Now, after separating the perfect fifth root and for the non, or doon sa mga simplified na, let us now simplify this. Okay, itong part na to. What is, isa-isahin natin, what is the fifth root of 32? Yes, of course, that is 2. Okay? Kapag kinuha natin ang fifth root ng 32, that is equal to 2. Kasi yun yung number na pag minultiply natin 5 times sa kanyang sarili, mag-i-equal siya sa 32. Next, x raised to 5. Fifth root of x raised to 5. What is the answer? X. Ma'am, paano po naging x? Ganito lang po yan. Yung 5, or yung power, i-divide natin sa ating index. Okay? 5 divided by 5, that is 1. So, x raised to 1 or x. Simply x. Now, y raised to 5 or fifth root of y raised to 5. And that is y. Now, Since na-simplify na natin to, naalis na natin siya sa loob ng radical, what will happen to this part? Yan. We only need to copy it. Okay? Or imumultiply lang natin dun sa ating 2xy. Kinopya lang, we have 5th root of x squared z. Kasi simplified na siya. So therefore, our final answer or the simplest form of this expression is equal to 2xy 5th root of x squared z. Now, let us have our fourth example in simplifying radicals. Let us have this expression 5, fourth root of 48, a raised to 4, b raised to 10, c raised to 5. So, how are we going to solve this? So, first, again, we need to put our two radicals. Ang ating power ngayon ay 4 since ang ating index ay 4. We have fourth root or yan. So, here, let us take a look on our numerical coefficient or in which it is equal to 48. Let us think of factors ng 48 na kung saan ang isa ay perfect at ang isa ay hindi. By the way, perfect fourth root ba ang 48? Okay, pagdating sa 2, no. Pagdating sa 3, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, okay, lumagpas na siya sa 48. So, therefore, ang 48 ay hindi fourth root. Perfect fourth root. So, therefore, let us think of factors ng 48. Pag sinabing factors ng 48, ano yung dalawang number na pag multiply natin will result to 48. So, that would be equal to 16 and 3. So, bakit ko nilagay dito ang 16? Kasi po, ang 16 ay perfect fourth root. Kasi 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 16. So, therefore, perfect fourth root siya. Nandito siya. At ang 16 times 3 is equal to 48. Ang 3 po ay simplest form na. Kaya nandito na siya sa ating second part. Next, a raised to 4. A raised to 4. Is it a perfect fourth root? Yes, perfect fourth root po siya kasi 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1. So, therefore, dito natin siya ilalagay. Next, wala ditong katuwangan na kasi sakto na siyang perfect. Now, b raised to 10. Ang b raised to 10 ba ay perfect fourth root? Okay, hindi po. But, there is a factor or there are factors of b raised to 10 na kung saan ang isa ay perfect fourth root. And that is, yung highest exponent na natin. So, that would be b raised to 8. Tama ba? Kasi ang 8 is divisible by our index, in which that is 4. So, 8 divided by 4 is 2. Ano? So, b raised to 8, ano po yung katuwang natin dito sa ating perfect, non-perfect? Ayan. So, that would be b raised to 2. Why? Kasi ang b raised to 8 times b raised to 2 is equal to b raised to 10. Okay, maliwanag? Maliwanag tayo dyan? Okay, good. Now, we have the last variable that is equal to c raised to 5. Ang c raised to 5, ang 5 ay mas malaki sa 4, so therefore, meron pa itong factors. Ang factors niya ay 4 and 1. So, c raised to 4 and c raised to 1, or simply c. Because c raised to 4 times c is equal to c raised to 5. Maliwanag? At ang c raised to 4 ay perfect fourth root. Kasi ang 4 ay pwedeng i-divide natin kay 4. So, sana maliwanag to ha. So, medyo nakakalito ano. So, kung kayo ay may katanungan, just comment down. And I will try my best to answer all your queries. Now, nahiwalay na natin ang ating perfect nth root sa hindi or sa already simplified. So, let us now simplify it. 5 times, what is the fourth root? We will get all the fourth root of the following variables. Fourth root of 16, ayan, we have 2. Fourth root of a raised to 4, we have a. Fourth root of b raised to 8, b squared. Bakit naging b squared? 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay? Fourth root of c raised to 4, that is c raised to 1 or simply c. And then, anong gagawin nga ulit natin dito? Ayan. So, we just need to copy it. So, therefore, ito na yung ating answer, no? Pero, take a look. Meron pa tayong pwede simplify dito. 5 times 2. I-multiply natin siya. And that would be equal to 10a b squared c 4th root of 3b squared c. Kinopya lamang ang remaining. Ano? So, therefore, this is our simplified form. Okay, so we are now done with the first condition kung saan ang kapag may perfect and truth pa, kunin natin or i-reduce natin yung radical. So this time, let us reduce naman the order of the radical. So how are we going to simplify this kind of radicals na kung saan malaki yung ating index or pwede pa natin i-reduce sila. Ano? Now, for our example, simplify 8 root of a raised to 12. So, how are we going to simplify this? So, first ay kunin natin ang factors ng ating radical. Ang a raised to 12, alam naman natin na ang factors niya, na kung saan ang isa ay perfect 8 root, ay isang 8 root of a raised to 8, isang a raised to 8, at isang a raised to 4. Kasi ang 8 plus 4 is equal to 12. Tama ba? Ayan. So, ito yung ating perfect and root, at ito yung ating non-perfect or already simplified. So, let us, therefore, we can simplify this part. Ang 8 root of a raised to 8 is equal to a. Tama ba? Ito po yan, a. And then, anong nangyari? We just copy 8 root of a raised to 4. Okay? Ulitin ko. Ang 8 root of a raised to 8, ito po yan, a. So, nawala na siya sa loob ng radical kasi na-simplify na natin. Okay? Now, if you notice, ang ating index dito sa perfect cube, or perfect 8 root, ay 4 and 8. Okay? Ang 4 and 8 ay pwede pa natin siyang i-lowest term. Tama ba? Ito ay magiging 1 at ito ay magiging 2. That is by dividing both power by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 1. Para rin siyang fraction. Ano? Kasi diba kapag nilagay natin to into exponential form, fraction naman talaga. Ano? So therefore, it could be reduced into a, kinopya lang si a. So we have square root of a raised to 1. Tama ba? Ito yon 4, 8. So naging 1/2. Yun ang lowest term niya. And alam naman natin kapag 2 ang ating index at kapag 1, pwede natin hindi ilagay. So therefore, our final answer is a is square root of a. Ma'am, nawala si 2. Ayun po. It could be invisible. How about 1? Ayun din po. Nawala din siya kasi pwede na natin siyang hindi ilagay dyan. So therefore, our final answer is a square root of a. Let us have example number 2. We have simplify 4th root of 25. So, alam naman natin na the index 4 ay may factors na 2. 2 and 2. Tama ba? So, therefore, pwede na natin siyang paghiwalayin or i-factored out. So, ang 4th root of 25 is equal to, ayan, nawala po si 4. Nasaan? Ito po yan, 2 and 2. Kasi ang factors ng 4 ay 2 times 2. So, ito po yan. Gumawa tayo ng dalawang radicals na kung saan magkahiwalay na yung factors niya. Isang 2 at isang 2. Kasi alam naman natin that the radical is 25, which is a perfect square. So, since ito ay perfect square, pwede na natin siyang i-simplify. What is a square? Yung nasa loob ng radical muna tayo, ha? Sabihin, kokopyahin muna natin yung outside radical and then i-simplify yung nasa loob ng radicals. What is the square root of 25? Okay, that is 5. So, therefore, our answer is the square root. Ito po yan. Kinopya lamang natin yung outside. And then, anong nangyari kay square root of 25? Ito na po siya, 5. So, therefore, the simplest form of 4th root of 25 is equal to the square root of 5. Let us have our third example. We have simplify 6th root of 64. Okay, again, our index can be reduced into two factors. Isang 2 and 3. Tama ba? So, alin kaya doon sa 2 and 3 ang ating outside radical and yung inside radical natin? Tingnan natin yung radical. Ang radical natin ay 64. Is it perfect cube or perfect square? Yan lang naman yung dalawa natin pagpipilian na factors. Is it 2 or 3? Since ang 64 ay alam natin na perfect square, so ibig sabihin, yung square, siya yung nasa loob. Ang target kasi natin is to simplify or to reduce it. So, our factors would be cube root of square root of 64. Ang 2 ang nasa loob ng ating radical or ng ating radical kasi siya yung ang 64 na radical is a perfect square. Maliwanag ba 'yon? Okay. So let us simplify. What is the square root of 64? That is 8. So ibig sabihin, aalisin na natin ito, papalitan natin ng 8, therefore the answer would be cube root of 8. By the way, ang cube root of 8 ba ay perfect cube? Ang 8 ba ay perfect cube? Yes, kasi 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. So therefore, we can still simplify it into
2. So therefore, the final answer is 2.
Let us have our fourth example. We have simplified 6th root of 27m cube and cube. Again, 6th root of 27m cube and cube. So how are we going to simplify this? Let us again take a look if we can reduce our index. Ang factors ng 6 or ng our index are 2 and 3. Now, tingnan natin yung radicand. Ito yung magdi-dictate sa atin kung alin ba yung outside radical and yung inside radicals. So, we have 27m cube and cube. So, if you notice, all of them are perfect cube, na? So, therefore, perfect cube ang nasa loob na radical natin in order to simplify it. So, therefore, we can have the square root of cube root of 27m cube and cube. Okay, maliwanag? Alam kung bakit cube yung nasa loob ng radical? Okay, good. So, let us simplify this inside radical. Ito lang nasa labas, nasa loob, ano? So, we have, what is cube root of 27? We have 3. What is cube root of m cube? We have m and cube. We have n. So, therefore, kinopya yung outside radical na square root. So, therefore, our final answer is square root of 3mn. Now, for our last example, we have simplify 8th root of 81. So, here, if you notice, our index is 8. At ang factors ng 8 are 4 and 2. Okay? So, here, alin pipili tayo? Alin yung nasa outside radical and inside radical? Is it 4 or is it 2? If you notice, our radicand is equal to 81. At alam naman natin that 81 is a perfect square root. Tama? Perfect square siya kasi 9 times 9 is equal to 81. Is it perfect fourth or perfect fourth root? Yes po, perfect fourth root siya since ang ating 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is equal to 81. So, alin doon ang pipiliin natin na mapapunta sa loob ng ating radical? Yan. So, piliin natin yung mas malaki. Why? Kasi ang target natin is to reduce the order of the radicals. Yung mas mababa ang nasa labas para masimplify na natin yung ating radical na 81. So, therefore, that would be equal to square root of 4th root of 81. So, mas malaking index yung nasa loob. Okay? So, what is 4th root of 81? Yes, that is 3. So, instead of writing 4th root of 81, we will write 3. And then copy the outside radical. So, that is square root of 3. So, this is the simplest form or the simplified form of 8th root of 81. Now, class, for our last conditions or simplifying radicals by rationalizing denominators. Kasi sabi natin, in order to make it simplified, wala dapat radicals sa ating denominator. That is the reason why we need to rationalize them. So, how are we going to do it? So, let's have this example. Simplify square root of 3 over 2. Since sabi nga natin, wala dapat square root sa ating or radical sa ating denominator, let us have this. Applying the quotient law, square root of 3 over 2 is equal to square root of 3 over square root of 2. So, meron tayong radical sa denominator. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa siya simplified. So, what are we going to do? Let us simplify it. Papaano? That is by, yan, tatanggalin natin ngayon ang square root of 2. So, paano ba siya matatanggal? Yung radical sa denominator. So, i-multiply natin daw both side by a number or by a radical that would make the denominator a perfect square or perfect nth root. So, depende sa index. Since ang index natin dito ay 2, let us think of a number na magiging perfect square siya. Ano yung i-multiply natin kay 2 para siya ay maging perfect square? Yes, that is 2. 2 times 2 is equal to 4 at ang 4 ay perfect square. So, therefore, let us multiply both sides by square root of 2. Maliwanag? Okay. So, simplifying them, i-multiply natin. Let us get the product. Square root of 3 times square root of 2, that is square root of 6. Minumultiply lamang po yung ating radical. 3 times 2 is equal to 6. And then, 2 times 2 is equal to 4. And square root of 4 is equal to 2. So, therefore, the answer is square root of 6 over 2. Meron pa ba tayong radical sa denominator? Wala na po. Na-simplify na natin. Or, na-rationalize na natin yung denominator. So, therefore, this is our final answer. Let us have our second example. We have here the expression simplify cube root of 48 over or divided by cube root of 6. So, here in simplifying it, okay, so instead of, di ba, ang sabi natin, i-multiply natin both side by an expression or by a radical that will make our denominator a perfect cube. Okay, so instead of doing that, tingnan muna natin kung pwede, since parehas naman siya ng indices, tingnan natin kung kaya nating i-divide ang 48 by 6. Can we divide 48 by 6? Yes, and the answer will be 8. Tama ba? 48 divided by 6 is 8. So, we have cube root of 8. And, if you notice, cube root of 8 is, our 8 is a perfect cube. So, therefore, pwede natin siyang i-simplify into 2. Bakit siya naging 2? Kasi 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. So, therefore, perfect cube siya. Ang cube root of 8 is equal to 2. So, that is our final answer. For our third example, we have simplify cube root of 32 divided by 54. Okay? So, here, in simplifying it, paghiwalayin ulit natin or apply natin yung ating quotient rule. That would be equal to cube root of 32 divided by cube root of 54. So, here, ang denominator natin ay cube root of 54. If you notice, masyadong malaki, di ba? Yung 54. Kung kukunin natin, yung, kung imumultiply natin sila, both side, by a number that will make ang cube root of, or yung denominator natin, a perfect cube, medyo malaki. Ano? Why not simplify first the two numbers, yung 32 at 54, since meron naman. Tingnan natin kung meron tayong factors ng 32 na kung saan ang isa ay perfect cube. At ang factors ng 54 na kung saan ang isa ay perfect cube. Okay, so that would be 8 times 4. Here, ang ating perfect cube ay ang 8. At dito sa ating denominator, ang 54, ang factors niya ay 27 times 2. Ang 27, siya yung ating perfect cube. Okay, maliwanag. Pinag-iwalay lang natin yung perfect cube sa hindi. Ano? Now, that would be equal to 2 cube root of 4. Ma'am, paano po nangyari yan? Isinimplify po natin si 8, si cube root of 8. Ang cube root of 8 po ay 2. So, nailabas na natin siya. Okay? Nailabas na natin siya sa loob ng radical. Kasi 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. So, therefore, cube root of 8 is equal to 2. And then, we just copy cube root of 4. Ito, kinopya lang natin yung non-perfect cube. Ganun din po sa ating denominator. Cube root of 27 is 3 kasi 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And then copy cube root of 2. Okay? So, therefore, we have 2 and 3, pwede bang i-divide? Hindi po. So, kukopyahin lang natin. Tingnan natin ang ating radicals. Since pareho siya ng index, pwede natin i-divide ang 4 and 2. Can we divide 4 by 2? Yes. So, that would be cube root of 2. Okay? So, kinupi lang natin yung fraction, 2 cube, and then dito, we have cube root of 2. Okay, class, for our fourth example, we have simplify 6 fourth root of 3 divided by fourth root of 2. So, how are we going to simplify it? So, since ang ating denominator ay radical, i-rationalize natin yung ating denominator. Fourth root of 2. Multiply natin both sides by a number or by an expression that would make our denominator a perfect fourth. What would be that number? Ano yung imumultiply natin kay 2 para siya ay maging perfect fourth root? And that is 8. Tama ba? Kasi ang 8 times 2 ay equals sa 16. Ang 16 ba ay perfect fourth root? Yes po, kasi 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, apat na 2 will be equal to 16. Ano? And 16 ay perfect fourth root. Okay? So, that would be equal to, yan, kinopya lang, 6, fourth root of 3, minultiply natin by 8 parehas. Okay? Nakuha? Kinopya lang si fourth root of 2 and then minultiply natin by 8. Now, let us simplify. 3 times 8 is equal to 24. 2 times 8 is equal to 16. So, therefore, ang fourth root of 16 ay perfect fourth root, kaya pwede na natin siyang gawing 2. Okay? So, therefore, our answer is 6 is fourth root of 24 over 2. But, take note, we have yung numerical coefficient natin na 6 and 2 can still be simplified into, what is 6 divided by 2? That is 3. And then copy fourth root of 24. So, that would be our final answer. Next, we have simplify cube root of 3 divided by cube root of 9. So, let us simplify it by, again, multiplying both sides by a number that would make our denominator o yung cube root ng 9 a perfect cube. Ano ba yung pwede nating i-multiply kay 9 para siya ay maging perfect cube? Okay, that would be very good. That would be 3. Kasi 3 times 9 is equal to 27. Ang 27 ba ay perfect cube? Yes po. Okay? So, we have, let us simplify. 3 times 3, 9. And 9 times 3 is 27. What is cube root of 27? Very good. That would be 3. So, nailabas na natin siya. Wala na ngayon tayong radical sa ating denominator. We already rationalized the denominator. So, we have cube root of 9 divided by 3. So, this is our simplified form. For this given expression, rationalize this expression 3 divided by 2 minus square root of 3. If you notice, ang ating denominator ay binomial and it consists of a radical number. So, therefore, hindi pa to simplified. So, in order to rationalize the denominator, in which ang denominator ay natin ay binomial, we need to conjugate the conjugate of the radical expression, or we need the concept of the conjugate. So, ano ba itong conjugate na tinatawag? If we have here radical expression and its conjugate, meaning to say, kung ang expression natin or yung binomial natin ay 3 plus square root of 2, we will just get its opposite operation. Ano ba ang opposite operation ng plus? That would be, or ng ating addition, that would be subtraction. So, ang conjugate ng 3 plus square root of 3 is equal to 3 minus square root of 2. How about the square root of 5 minus square root of 3? Binomial siya. Ang conjugate niya, since ito ay subtraction, syempre, that would be plus or addition. Square root of 5 plus square root of 3. So, bakit po ba kailangan natin kunin ang conjugate? Di ba ang target natin is to remove the radical sign or the radical expression in our denominator. So the reason why we need to multiply them by its conjugate. So bakit po? So why is it important to find their conjugates? So kasi po, kapag kinuha natin yung product ng radical expression and its conjugate o yung ka-opposite niya, that would be equal to or that would be an example of sum and difference of two terms. Okay? Kasi parehas na parehas naman yung ating terms except for their operation. So this is an example of sum and difference of two terms. At alam naman natin, kapag ganun ang given in a special product, kinukuha lang natin yung difference of their squares. Kukunin lamang ang square nito ng ating first term, which is 3. Kukunin din ang square ng ating second term, which is the square root of 2. And then, their difference. So, let us simplify. 3 squared is 9. And the square root of 2 raised to 2 is equal to 2. And 9 minus 2 is equal to 7. So, kaya kapag minultiply natin siya, nawala na yung ating radical. So, that is the reason why conjugate of the radical expression is needed in simplifying expressions with a binomial radical expression, with a binomial na radical expression. So, let's have another example. Square root of 5 minus square root of 3 times square root of 5 plus square root of 3. Again, in order to simplify it, we will get the difference of their squares. Kunin natin ang square ng square root of 5 and square ng square root of 3. So, that would be 5. Makakancel kasi natin yung square root at saka yung power na 2. Kasi parehas siyang power. So, 5 minus 3. What is 5 minus 3? That is 2. So, therefore, this is the product. We have 3. So, for this time, let us rationalize the given expression, 3 divided by 2 minus the square root of 3. So, how are we going to rationalize it or maalis yung radical sa ating denominator? That is by multiplying both side, the numerator and the denominator, by its conjugate. Okay? So, minultiply. Ano ba ang conjugate ng 2 minus square root of 3? We have 2 plus square root of 3. Kung ano ang minultiply natin sa denominator, siya rin ang imumultiply natin sa ating numerator. Okay? Now, let us simplify. Since product ito, multiplication to, let us multiply it distributive property. So, that would be 3 times 2 plus square root of 3 divided by, yan, imumultiply din natin itong dalawang denominators. Okay? Now, simplify natin. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times the square root of 3 is 3 square root of 3. Divided by, ano nga ang product ng dalawang binomials na ito, ng expression natin and its conjugate? Yan. We will just get the difference of their squares. What is 2 squares? We have 4. Kasi 2 times 2 is 4. What is square root of 3? Quantity square. Or square ng square root of 3. That is 3. Now, simplifying, we have 4 minus 3 is equal to 1. Then, kinopya lamang natin yung numerator. So, we have here 6 plus 3 square root of 3. Kahit hindi na natin isulat yung 1 since understood na yun. So, our final answer would be 6 plus 3 square root of 3. This is the simplified form of this expression. Maliwanag ba? I hope you do.
So this is the end of my video tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a lot. So please don't forget to subscribe for more video updates.